welcome back. I'm Blasphemous, and welcome to my eternal torment.
Sure, we can do more damage that way. Affirmative, sir.
Before I get too hard into the negativity, let me say a few points of praise for the HECU. First off, they're sturdy, they're strong, they carry powerful weapons, and they're deadly accurate. In any confrontation that's one-on-one, they will generally win. Now let's talk about the bad stuff. You're actually hearing some of it right now.
Government cover-ups were not in my job description.
You see, back when the HECU were the bad guys, their conversation was usually like radio chatter, usually very terse, quick sentences, and generally not very much in the ways of quipping. But now, they've got themselves a wisecrack for every occasion, and they just won't stop saying them. Quiet down. Oh, that's a good one. You'll notice actually that I don't do a whole lot of subtitling for their idle conversation because, well, that happens so often and it loops back on itself so much that there's no point to it anymore. And yeah, like I mentioned it in the previous episode, but this follower AI, just watch this stuff they're doing here. And I don't even know why this is happening. Like the security guard AI and the scientist AI in the previous game, they weren't exactly, stellar at it, but they could absolutely follow you, and we even saw just now that a scientist was able to keep close to us pretty darn easily when we asked them to follow us, so what the heck happened? By the way, the nameplates here on these desks are actually a reference to two Gearbox employees. Their names are Sean Reardon and Stephen Jones. Both of these guys were programmers when originally working on Opposing Force, although they've now become business partners and chief operating officers, and yeah, they've kind of moved up in the world. And hey, check this out. Not even an hour into the game and they're already throwing grunts at us. That sort of tells you a lot about the sort of progression of Opposing Force. That they're not afraid to throw large rooms full of enemies, and enemies that are far more advanced than you would normally facing as Gordon Freeman. That just opens it up for them to throw even more advanced enemies at you in the future, really. Yeah, as I said, the soldiers aren't really bad, like on the head anyway. Like, they can be very effective. You just need to make sure that they're actually following you is all. That's really their main weak point. That and having random seizures, apparently.
Do you have any idea who's in charge of this
I'm not sure who this is, but he looks like an asshole. Anyway, it's time to leave our guys behind because, well, it's the end of the line. I'm sure the angels will weep for their passing. Actually, this is just as good a point as any to point out that, yeah, this chapter is called Friendly Fire. And, well, as we all know, chapters in the Half-Life series always have double meanings. In this case, we have, friendly soldiers acting alongside us who, yeah, they fire on things. That was very insightful. However, that also means that, at least for the moment, we appear to have no human enemies to fight with. How are they going to resolve that? Well, we'll see in a minute, I guess. But first... hooray for convenient stacks of exploding crates. Now, I don't exactly know what kind of experiment is going on here, but it's very obviously dark magic, and therefore it must be destroyed. I see. It was actually science after all. You can tell because it exploded. Aha! Did you hear that? I hear more soldier friends on the horizon. One nice thing about these guys being so, chatty, is that you can definitely tell when they're nearby just by the sounds of their incessant banter. Don't ask me what I was doing with this elevator, by the way. I probably thought it was going to kill me or something. Anywho... Well, well, this guy seems a little less alive than I was expecting. Did you guys do that?
Mayday, mayday, anyone copy? This is Tango Charlie 409, we are under attack. Repeat, Black operators have entered the base and have opened fire on us. Request backup immediately. Over.
Ah yes, it seems that another enemy faction has entered the scene. This is quite a twist. It's fun when I can pull that off. It is nice to get back into the light again, though. Wait. Light?
Sir, hello! Shepard, what the hell were you doing down there? Listen, we need to get our asses down to the extraction point near Lambda Sector. With any luck, we'll even get a shot at Freeman on our way out. Now, this transit system should take us there, but the door is sealed up pretty tight. Jeez, where's an engineer when you need one?
Yeah, about that. Like, all jokes aside, do you know where Freeman is right now? He is in the Lambda Core. And do you know what time it was when he went to the Lambda Core? It was the middle of the night, as we saw during Half-Life Uplink. Like, what? Is Shepard going backward in time? Locked, huh? Well, it still helped us in the long run. You'll see what I mean very shortly.
Why do we always have to clean up a mess the grunts can't handle?
Tell me about it. I just want to deliver the package and get out of here.
Yeah, sooner or later the grunts are gonna figure it out.
Yeah, you guys are kind of wearing all black in the middle of the desert. Meet the Black Ops. The conspiracy set out to contain the conspiracy. I'm not joking about that. They are literally here to kill the HECU, who are here to kill the scientists. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that is basically the bare bones of it. Since we're playing as the HECU, we needed someone who was somehow even worse in order for us to even be, mildly sympathetic.
Corporal, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I need a medic bad.
What a coincidence. As it just so happens, we have a medic who needs an engineer. You two should meet. Alternatively, there are these med kits in these boxes just maybe, I don't know, like 12 feet away. But that's not an option. Sad but true. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there's actually a little bit of an interesting graffiti over here, sort of evocative of the message Die Freeman from On a Rail. Yeah, traitors die. I'm not sure why they're calling us traitors, honestly, like we're just trying to survive, but I guess that's their point of view of us, so I guess nobody can tell them that they're wrong, because they shot them. Well, we got ourselves a little bit of downtime. Maybe I should talk about the music, or, yeah, the lack thereof. Think about it. Like, if we were doing Black Mesa right now, like a Black Mesa version of Opposing Force, wouldn't that fight, the original fight with the Black Ops soldiers, wouldn't that get itself a bit of a theme? At the very least, some kind of a musical sting? It feels like the soundtrack has sort of been letting us down recently. It's like there's no drama here. Like there's nothing to really accentuate through music. And I feel like that's kind of a real failing of the whole series. At least as far as the Gold Source games are concerned.
About this mission, man, my dogs are barking. Thanks, Doc.
Well, I'm glad that was all resolved, so I guess it's time to double on back. Or at least we can try if the game, is going to cooperate. Here's the thing. I really don't know if Opposing Force actually holds up to modern scrutiny. Like, I mean, obviously we're too early to really make too many judgments on it, but when you think about games that stand the test of time, they're generally ones where they have some sort of hook to them. Something that helps them artistically, or at least presentation-wise, abide to future generations. And, well, I'm just really not seeing it with this one. At the very least, like, not yet. It's not a really great, like, initial presentation. Like, we'll eventually get some really fun guns, but starting out, it's going to be a lot less interesting. Oh, by the way, while we're sitting here, you happen to notice that acetylene tank on the engineer's back? Yeah, it has a very unique property to it.
Area secure, sir.
I got a
Oops. But that does make me remember a little bit about the Gold Source engine I don't think I mentioned. Every single part of a character model can be defined to have different characteristics. So you can have certain parts of a character that are defined as taking less damage than others. It's actually somewhat interesting. I don't know if any other games around this time did anything similar, but it does mean you can have grunts with armored shoulder plates but a vulnerable torso. And the medic just ditched us. Great.
Sir, it's Corporal. What the hell is going on here? Nobody told us about black operations in the mission briefing. Yeah, I mean, we're all on the same team, right? Right? Well, I'm not sure what their mission is, but we need to keep moving. There's got to be a transit car somewhere on these tracks.
This one HECU guy is carrying a very big gun. A very big gun. I want it. But first, it's time to meet some old familiar friends. That's right, the ninjas are back. Or maybe, more accurately, they never went anywhere. This actually lends some credence to the idea that the Black Ops were operating as far back as day one. Just kind of sitting in the shadows and picking people off in secret. Of course, now that everyone's evacuated and they got the general Black Mesa area also evacuated, they can just go loud and nobody cares. And hey, here's that musical sting that I was talking about, except it's a bit understated compared to what I was expecting. You can almost barely hear it. I'm going to also say that Shepard's gear isn't really that well suited to fighting really fast opponents. He seems to be more of a bruiser type character. Like, he's really good against sturdy enemies, but not so much against these guys who he can't even... Did that guy just say alien alert?
Alien alert! I'm a natural-born alien killer.
Guys, they're not aliens. Like, they're wearing these weird tech goggles, but they're like... You know what? Never mind. Fine, they're aliens. Whoever helps you sleep at night.
I got a bad feeling about this mission.
Tell you what, actually, considering everything that's going on, I wouldn't be surprised if that Osprey that took off is going to be found a few days later crash-landed in the desert. Maybe in that perspective, the G-Man was actually saving us once again. Albeit in his own very special way. As for this next bit, I'm going to freely admit that I'm not going to be doing too well in it, because, well, as I've mentioned, the Black Ops soldiers are actually considerably sturdier than the HECU soldiers, and, well, the only weapons that we have so far that are really effective against them, because of how fast they are and how much they move around, are the MP5 and our handguns. Now, the Desert Eagle, it's not a poor weapon for this situation, but it's also, you know, got limited ammunition and a very slow fire rate. And the MP5, well, it hasn't improved any since the original Half-Life, so in this situation, it's little more than a glorified pea shooter with a grenade launcher attached. It's really kind of a difficult situation here. We more or less have to depend on the superior firepower of our squad mates, and, well, that's kind of iffy at the best of times. Although, this does allow us to show off something a little bit cool. You see, when you die, you actually have the option to look around somewhat, like you don't immediately just reset. So, if you have squad mates in action, you can realize that after you're dead, they're considerably more competent for some reason. Don't know why that is. Honestly, the Black Ops are a whole lot less fun to fight in general than the HECU. You might have noticed, but not only are they completely faceless due to being, you know, covered with face masks, but they're also completely silent. They don't have any combat banter like the HECU do, nor do they express any agitation with being shot or any sort of, you know, feelings at all. They basically are just a bunch of mute super soldiers, and yeah, there's really no fun involved with shooting them as a result. Now, I'm not a mean person. At least I don't try to be. But yeah, like for the player, there has to be a sort of feedback to let them know that what they're doing is actually causing any sort of a difference. By having the Black Ops be these just unfeeling machines that just kind of run around and fire at you and don't even say a word after that little exchange that we had, well, that's just kind of bland, a little bit creepy even. They're not really fun at all. And that's a problem for a shooter nemesis. Like, yes, this game has somewhat horror roots, but these guys, they're not really that scary so much as they're just really there. That's how I could best describe them. The Black Ops are there because we need human enemies to fight, and they don't really have much of a motivation beyond that. Regardless, though, that's it for them for this chapter, so all we gotta do is find a switch to progress, and then we can move on to bigger and better things. Like big weapons and big set pieces. One last thing, though. You might have noticed it in passing, but our friend here with the big gun, he actually killed us once in an alternative timeline. And, well, I'm not the vengeful sort, but when it comes to matters like these, that sort of thing cannot go undealt with, I guess. As they say, one good turn deserves another.
Squad, quiet down!
Just so. And now, we are the ones with the big gun. Not immediately, of course. This has to be saved for when we actually can get ammunition for it, but keep it in the back of your mind. After all, we have to go and find our way to the Lambda Labs, where, naturally, we will find ourselves in bigger and more interesting places. I hope to see you all next time.